Welcome to our presentation on children book translation strategies. Today we're going to be looking at children's books. This one was pretty fun for me to put together. I have 9 younger siblings, so I'm frequently reading and enjoying children's books. Today we will focus on 2 books in particular, Are You My Mother and The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. Are You My Mother is a book for younger children, not super intense vocabulary, lots of simple sentences. Are you my mother? I'm not your mother. I'm a horse. Are you my mother? How could I be your mother? I'm a cow. Things like that. Basically, this bird gets separated from its mother, asks a bunch of other animals, and eventually a steam shovel if they are its mother, and then in the end is reunited with his mom in the nest. The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, written by Dr. Seuss. This story is actually in prose, so it's just written like a normal book with no metered rhymes that are required every time, but it's significantly longer, a higher reading level for sure. And Bartholomew here, he has a hat on his head. The king drives by, demands that Bartholomew takes his hat off to show respect, but no matter how many times Bartholomew takes his hat off, another hat just reappears. So the 2 basic translation strategies that I saw in these books is that Are You My Mother translates things pretty word for word and makes sure everything is grammatically correct in the Spanish version. Pretty just straight shooting, nothing too special. The 500 Hats for Bartholomew Cubbins. This translation strategy was a bit more involved, making sure that rhyme and meter come across when necessary, as well as getting some good wordplay that otherwise might be missed. Of the 20 terms and translations, the one I want to focus on from Are You My Mother is these bottom 2 right here, concerning the snort. So our friend the bird, after going through all of these other animals, eventually arrives at this steam shovel and asks, Are you my mother? Which the steam shovel obviously doesn't reply and just gives out a snort, to which the bird says, You're not my mother, you're a snort. In Spanish, it was translated as, No eres mi madre, tú bufas. Translated back to English, which means you're not my mother, you snort. Instead of saying you are a snort, it says you snort. And then the big steam shovel picks this bird up. And so in English it says, the snort went up. Pero en español, lo que dice es, la cosa grande subió arriba. Which to me was rather disappointing. That strategy of going, it says the snort, well, we can't just make an adjective a noun, so instead it replaces it with la cosa grande, I feel like loses a lot of the magic that this book has. This book, other than the part about the snort, is kind of humdrum and boring, and so to lose that part in translation, to just translate it straight across what's grammatically correct in Spanish, I feel like loses some of the magic that comes in this children's book. As far as it goes for the 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, a bit more engaging. I really enjoyed what the translations, especially con paso firme se dirigió hacia el torno as he goes back. So a bit more literary license. One that was a bit disappointing, I'm not sure how they could have done it better though, was when the king decides to shoot the hat off of Bartholomew's head with a bow and arrow, he says, fetch the yeoman of the bowman, right? A really nice rhyme. Pero en español lo que dice es traigan al arquero mayor, right? The best archer. So it works. Just kind of misses that little rhyme, but that's a little bit of that is inevitable when translating. Finally, what I think was most impressive in the 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins is halfway through the king has his magicians come in to give a spell to get rid of this hat. And the translation is, in my opinion, extremely well done. I'm going to read all of it because children's books are meant to be read aloud. That's why they're for children. And so the way it sounds is really, really important and part of what makes it engaging. So listen as we read this in English and Spanish and just appreciate how well this is translated. Winkabus, tinkabus, fochichi, clay, hat on this demon's head, fly far away. Howl, men, howl away, howl away, howl away. Yowl, cats, yowl away, yowl away, yowl away. Hat on this demon's head, seep away, creep away, leap away, gleep away, never come back. En español, abracadabra, pata de cabra, haz que la tierra se abra y se vean 1000 reflejos, que el demonio que está en el sombrero vuelve bien lejos. aúllan los hombres, aúllan sin cesar, maullan los gatos, maullan sin parar. Que el demonio que está en el sombrero salte, se escape, se arrastre bien lejos y que no vuelva jamás. So a few things that were really well done in this translation. Howl and yowl both rhyme in English, and aullan y maullan both rhyme in Spanish. Well done. And as well, this whole thing rhymes and has a nice rhythm until the very last line. Never come back. And, same thing in Spanish. Y que no vuelva jamás. There's a sharp juxtaposition. I think this really shows the strategy that this translator used to get the same ideas to come across, right? Abracadabra, pata de cabra. Hoof of a goat. Like, we don't find that at all in Spanish, or in the English version. But what does winkibus tinkibus mean, right? So the idea that came across was, let's get this rhyme, let's get this rhythm, let's kind of get this nonsensical idea to translate into Spanish. That way kids can have something that they can identify with. Really, really well done. Some other resources you can use as you want to translate beyond just your basic standard two-way dictionary. I think the best one we can use are parallel texts. So this is any children's book originally written in Spanish. Here we can find how native speakers write simply for children, what rhymes they like to use, what other literary devices they use, how to keep sentences short, how to move a story along quickly. Parallel texts I think are the best here. Whether that be songs or fables, whatever. And if you want to use a dictionary, I would say use a monolingual dictionary that is specifically for children, right? Like in 3rd grade, we all got, at least here in Utah, we got a dictionary that had a planet Earth on the front, and it was the student's dictionary, and it had fewer words, simple definitions. So as you're translating into Spanish from an English children's book, use a dictionary for Spanish children. If the word you want to use isn't in their dictionary, you probably shouldn't use it. And if you want to see how young children understand words, that would also be a good place to start. So finally, the questions is, how would you translate the tricky passage of Are You My Mother? Of, oh, 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 what is this snort going to do to me? Get me out of here. And then back to the idea of the incantation from the 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. What's more important, what the words say or what the sounds of the words convey? Hope you enjoyed this, and have a very Merry Christmas.